What if we told you that one of the most expensive watches in the world is also one of the most hated? Many old money collectors won't wear it. They say it's loud, tasteless, and lacks the centuries of heritage that define true luxury. But self-made billionaires, tech founders, and superstar athletes absolutely love it. And somehow, that criticism has only made the brand stronger. This is the story of Richard Mille, the watch that started a class war. And despite years of criticism, demand continues to explode. So let's explore it in this 5th episode of Watch Wars, and how this watch has broken every rule. Now, to understand why Richard Mille sparked so much debate, we first need to understand the industry it turned upside down. Because before Richard Mille arrived, luxury had a very different meaning. For generations, Swiss watchmaking had been obsessed with history. Brands such as Rolex, Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, Vacheron Constantin and Omega have spent generations building legacies that stretch back more than a century. In luxury watchmaking, these names don't merely sell watches, they sell history, tradition and prestige accumulated over decades. Not just that, these companies constantly remind buyers that their watches were worn by royalty, aristocrats, military officers, explorers and world leaders. In luxury watchmaking, heritage is more than marketing, it's currency. The older the story, the greater the prestige. Then in 2001, everything changed. A French businessman named Richard Mille entered the industry and completely ignored the rulebook that had governed Swiss watchmaking for centuries. Before he founded the brand in 2001, he had years of experience at the helm of several watch and jewelry companies. In fact, he was 50 years old when the first Richard Mille watch was unveiled. Instead, he launched his company with a radical idea: build the most technologically advanced mechanical watches in the world and charge prices so high that even seasoned collectors would be shocked. The strategy seemed almost absurd. The company's very first watch, the RM001 tourbillon, debuted with a price tag of $135,000. At a time when many respected Swiss brands still offered entry-level luxury watches, Richard Mille deliberately refused to create an affordable model. With this price tag, the message was simple: if you wanted to join this club, you had to pay the price. Even today, entry-level Richard Mille watches generally begin at around $80,000 to $100,000 at retail, while many references easily surpass $200,000, $500,000 or even several $1 million. Many collectors thought Richard Mille had lost his mind. Who launches a completely unknown brand and immediately charges more than some of the most respected names in Swiss watchmaking? Critics called the strategy ridiculous. Others predicted that the company would disappear within weeks. But Richard Mille understood something incredibly important about luxury. Exclusivity creates status, and sometimes the fastest way to become desirable is to become unattainable. Richard Mille was not simply selling watches, he was selling access, and very soon, some of the world's most powerful and visible people would buy in. But creating expensive watches was not enough. Richard Mille needed to prove that these extraordinary prices were justified. And the company found the perfect testing ground in one of the world's most physically demanding sports. For decades, luxury watch brands followed an unwritten rule. Athletes could endorse watches, pose with watches, and wear them after competitions. But during the competition itself, mechanical watches stayed safely in the locker room. Traditional Swiss watches were considered far too delicate to survive elite sports. And that's why Richard Mille decided to challenge that assumption. In the 2010 French Open, tennis superstar Rafael Nadal walked onto the court wearing a Richard Mille RM027 tourbillon on his wrist. Many collectors assumed it was nothing more than a publicity stunt. Surely Nadal would remove it before the match began. He didn't. Instead, he played entire tournaments wearing it. He sprinted across hard courts, unleashed some of the most powerful forehands in tennis history, and won Grand Slam titles while wearing an ultra-high-end mechanical watch. So Richard Mille became part of his Grand Slam journey over the years, and this partnership changed everything. The RM027 series became legendary, and Richard Mille didn't want to stop with tennis. The brand partnered with Formula 1 drivers, golfers, sprinters and athletes operating at the very limits of human performance. A brand whose DNA boasts performance and innovative engineering and materials, Richard Mille has come a long way since its founding in 2001. It's partnered with some of the world's most famous athletes over the years, including golfing champion Bubba Watson and Formula 1 driver Romain Grosjean. In 2021, the prodigious young Ferrari Formula 1 driver Charles Leclerc joined that prestigious list. For younger, wealthy buyers, this approach was revolutionary. They weren't interested in whether a watch company existed in 1875, they cared about innovation happening right now. While new buyers embraced the brand, many traditional collectors were horrified, and that's where the real war began. Because Richard Mille wasn't simply challenging traditional watchmaking, it challenged traditional ideas about wealth itself. In many ways, Richard Mille became the perfect symbol of a much larger cultural divide. For generations, old money has valued discretion. According to this philosophy, truly wealthy people don't need to advertise their success. Their wealth speaks quietly. They wear understated Patek Philippe's, elegant Vacheron Constantines, and simple dress watches that most people never notice. That's where the difference was created. You see, Richard Mille doesn't whisper and doesn't stay quiet. It shouts. The watches are large, aggressively modern, heavily skeletonized, and instantly recognizable from across a room. Bright colors, futuristic case shapes, and technical aesthetics make them impossible to ignore. To traditional collectors, this is precisely the problem. Many view Richard Mille as unnecessarily loud and lacking the historical depth that defines true horology. Some dismiss the watches as toys for billionaires or status symbols designed primarily to attract attention. But new money sees something entirely different. Entrepreneurs, technology founders, professional athletes, entertainers, and self-made millionaires often identify strongly with Richard Mille's philosophy. Unlike traditional aristocratic wealth, many of these individuals built their fortunes themselves. They celebrate innovation rather than history, and they're often unapologetic about displaying their success. For these buyers, Richard Mille tells a powerful story. It represents modern achievement and engineering excellence. In many ways, Richard Mille reflects the same mindset that created their fortunes. It's bold, disruptive, ambitious, and impossible to overlook. The fascinating part is that Richard Mille never truly tried to win over traditional collectors. Instead, it created an entirely new tribe, and that tribe transformed a tiny startup into one of luxury's most powerful brands. Now, if you're enjoying Watch Wars and how Richard Mille introduced the old money versus new money conflict, then make sure to subscribe now, because the next chapter may completely change how you think about luxury watches. So what happens when one of the world's most controversial watches enters the resale market? Honestly, in luxury watchmaking, hype can make a watch famous. Only the market can make it legendary, and critics have spent years predicting the collapse of Richard Mille. They argue that the brand is a passing trend, a symbol of excess, a luxury bubble waiting to burst. Yet the secondary market tells a very different story. Many Richard Mille references continue to trade significantly above retail prices. Certain references sell for hundreds of thousands and occasionally millions above their original retail prices. This is remarkable for a company founded only in 2001. Few modern luxury brands have achieved such strong secondary market performance in such a short period of time. Of course, not every Richard Mille is appreciated. Like every luxury asset, market conditions change. Some references trade closer to retail, and speculative buying always carries risks. But overall, Richard Mille remains among the strongest performing luxury watch brands on the secondary market. According to the 2024 Morgan Stanley report, the brand achieved a global turnover of 1.55 billion Swiss francs. Not just that, Richard Mille has been ranked as the 6th largest Swiss watch brand by turnover, making just under 6,000 units a year. And that reveals something important. Value is not universal. For traditional collectors, value comes from heritage, craftsmanship, and history. For Richard Mille buyers, value comes from innovation, engineering, and cultural relevance. Neither side is wrong, but they're simply playing different games. Because luxury has never really been about telling time, it's about telling stories. And Richard Mille tells perhaps the most controversial story in modern watchmaking. So, after all the criticism, controversy, and culture wars, one question remains. What exactly is Richard Mille's true legacy? So what started as an ambitious startup eventually evolved into something far bigger. It ignited a cultural battle over heritage, status, and the very future of luxury watchmaking. Today, Richard Mille is one of the most recognizable luxury watch brands on earth. Love it or hate it, Richard Mille forced the entire industry to evolve. Mille shifted the ultimate status symbol away from gold and diamonds. By positioning his timepieces as a billionaire's handshake and targeting high-profile figures in hip-hop, sports and entertainment, Mille made watches the ultimate sign of modern wealth. This caused a cultural shift that forced other luxury brands to get bolder and sharper. With this vision, Richard Mille didn't replace traditional watchmaking, it simply created an alternative. And judging by the waiting list, secondary market prices and growing demand, that alternative is here to stay. And that's it. Richard Mille may be one of the most criticized brands in modern watchmaking, but it's also one of the most successful. Because in the end, the debate isn't really about watches, it's about identity. And if you enjoyed this episode of Watch Wars, subscribe to the channel for more stories about the rivalries, revolutions and controversies that shape the watch industry. See you in the next episode.